And welcome back for another live tutorial. I'm Matt Schwegler along with Jason Gagnon, the Infrared Training Center, for today's live tutorial on using text annotations to optimize your infrared report.
All right, thank you, Matt. Welcome, everyone. Today's session is going to be about text annotations and how these can be used in the cameras and in the software to optimize your reports. Now, if you're not familiar with this concept and how this works, these templates can be created in FLIR tools and used by many of the cameras to annotate images while they're being saved in the camera. And the templates, the same templates that you use in the cameras, are accessible in FLIR tools when you're editing your images. So why is this beneficial? Well, the text template is essentially a pull-down menu of labels and values that are accessible, again, in the camera and in the software. So you can add commonly used terms to these templates. For example, an equipment list or a list of common locations where you would, potentially perform your inspections. And this can save you a lot of typing. If you find that you're typing the same thing over and over again into your images or into your reports, if you're doing routine inspections, if you're doing routine inspections where you're looking at the same items on a regular basis, these are applications where you could take advantage of this feature. The data that you capture is embedded into the JPEG. So if you use this feature in the camera, whatever text you select gets embedded in the image along with the other image data and temperature data. So it becomes a field in the JPEG. And then that will transfer over to the software automatically. Now again, this same template is accessible in FLIR tools, and it works the same way. So you can use it in the camera, you can use it in the software, or you can use it both ways. Not all cameras support the feature, but you can still use the template and access it in the software when you're doing your image analysis. Now, this is beneficial for long-term reporting. If you just type text into a report, it's not searchable. It's just in that report. If you use the text and you embed it in the image, you can search across your entire library for a certain field, and it will return the images that match that. So if you want to do a report over, say, a 6-month period of a certain panel, breaker panel, or something that you're inspecting where you think you might have a problem, you can search for that in the library, and it will return any images that have that field embedded. And then when these reports are made, the text data just transitions or transfers over to your report automatically. Okay. And this is the case for FLIR Tools, the free version, and also for the Report Studio, the upgrade in Word. You can design templates that show the text annotation data and the notes, which is another way to tag the images.
Just had not to interrupt, quick question though came in, will the XemNews XT platform support this bridge, this connection with FLIR tools?
Not in the camera.
Not in the camera.
But you could use it on the software side.
Okay.
Yep. Any of the radiometric JPEG cameras you can use on the software end to add the text. Whether it's possible in the camera really depends on the camera model. You'd want to check the data sheets on that. Most of the E series, the EXX series, and the T series do support the feature. Yep. Alrighty. So let's see how it works. I'll close out the PowerPoint and we'll go into FLIR Tools. Okay, so this is the starting point for creating the text, what we call the text annotation templates. Now, in FLIR Tools, this is your FLIR Tools library. In the upper right section here, right up here where you have your options on your help menu, there is a section called templates. If you click on this, This has nothing to do with report templates at all. This is strictly about text templates. This is where you can create a new template or import a template if you have an existing one. So we'll start with just creating a real simple one so you understand the process and the concept behind it. There's two buttons in the upper left. If you point to the first one, it says Import TCF. The one right next to it is to add a new one. So this is what I'm going to do right now. I want to create a brand new text template. First thing is to give it a name. And now this is where you build the template. It's a really simple format. The left-hand side, in the fields column, these are your labels. So if you're doing electrical inspections, this is where you'd put your equipment ID or maybe your location and that type of thing. The values are the values that are associated with each label. So over here, I could say location if we want that for a label. All right. So that's the first label. Now on the right hand side, with that selected, I click values, and then I would type all the locations that I would want to select from. So for home inspections, let's say living room, maybe. And then, so to add another row, right? So I type that in, now I hover over it, and on the right there's a plus. That adds another row. The trash can icon will delete that row. So if I click plus, I can do another field, and then maybe attic. Okay. And you just keep going until you have all the values that you want for that particular label. And you can change the order of them. So if you hover over any of these rows, on the left you have these arrows, these up-down arrows. So I can move the attic field up to the top, right? Just like that. So you can rearrange them pretty easily. Now if we go back to the left, we can add a fault, let's say. Might be something that you'd want to be able to access, right? So you have now we have two labels, location and fault. Now with fault highlighted on the right hand side, say problem, then we add another row, and okay. So it's basically just this back and forth procedure. You add your labels, add your values. So it can take some time to build these initially, but you can kind of create a baseline template, and it's very easy to modify these. So you can add to it, you can remove from it, and then send it back to the camera. So just for now, I'm just going to save it this way. So we'll hit save down at the bottom. All right. We can go back to our list. So any templates that you create are going to show up in this list. And then at any time, you can click on this little pencil to edit the template, and you can add other rows and delete things. So maybe we want a recommendation and say fix, something like that, right? And then you just save your changes. So they're very easy to create. They're very easy to edit. Like I said, it's the most time-consuming part is probably to decide what you want to put into these and to build them up. But the nice thing is that you can make it once, and if you have other thermographers that you're working with, you can export them. So if you want to send this to somebody else or send it to a new PC, if you get a new computer, you want to use the same template, this button allows you to export it. And they're called TCF, text comment files. And you can export it to a memory card, thumb drive, whatever. And then on the newer PC, you can import from up here. So this button is what we just used to make a new one. This one can import a template. So I can import this one, let's say. So this is a building inspection template, right? So if I edit this, you can see all the labels and all the values. So I'll have another one for electrical inspections. Okay. So we have location, we have equipment, problem, recommendation. All right. Now, once you have this created, if you want to use it in your camera, if your camera supports the feature, the next step is to send it to the camera. You have to have a camera connected, or you have to have an SD card from the camera plugged into the PC in order to do this. So right now I have a T540 SD card actually plugged into a card reader. So it shows the G drive over here. If this isn't connected, it'll tell you no camera connected. It'll be pretty obvious. So once it detects that a camera's connected, it will show these arrows. So I can send these. Actually, I can send them both to the camera using this arrow. All right. Once they show up over here, they're good to go. You can start using them in your camera. So why don't we do that? Let me pull the card. All right, so that should say no camera connected now, which it does. We'll go over to here. And I'm going to put the card into the camera. All right, so now it shows. Looking good.
Well, that's recognizing and loading. Just want to remind everybody, we are recording today's session. We'll have it available for playback probably after the first of the year, given the holiday coming up. And you'll find it at infraredtraining.com/webinars when ready. Tomorrow's topic, yesterday's, on FLIR tools went really well. We have the recording, and that is in the process of being added to the website right now. So if you want to get an early copy of that, send me an email. And I'll give you that, and we'll go from there. So
we also, towards the end, we can show this. We have some documentation that kind of shows how to do what we're doing here too, like a training guide. So we can tell you about that once we're done here. So now I have the card on the camera. So now the next step, I have to tell the camera in the settings to prompt me for the table. All right. So this is a T540. The menu structure is going to be a little bit different if you have a different camera model. So what you want to look for in your camera is a settings menu, and then something about save options, which in this case is the third item down here. And this shows you all the different options that are available related to saving images and videos. So what I want to do is go to the Add Annotation menu, and then I want to tell it to save and add table. Okay. So now we can go back, and I'm not looking at anything very interesting here, but look at the light and pull the trigger. Whoops. So it's going to freeze and save the image, and then it's going to come up and ask you which text table you want to use. So pick the building table. So if I want to use that, you just go ahead and use the touch screen or use the the keypad to go through and pick the items that are applicable to what you're looking at. Default, whatever it is, recommendation. Now, if you look at these, there's a keypad on all of these. So if you don't see what you want on the list, you can hit the keypad and you can type in whatever you want. So it doesn't have to be on the list. You can put your common items, and then you can always, there's always exceptions, a way to handle exceptions. And then once we have the items that we want, just hit save, adds the table, and it saves the image.
Jason's using a T540, by the way, for this demonstration. That's the new FLIR T540.
Yep.
Question came in from one of the viewers here. What camera models does all of this apply to? I guess on the lower end, more of the base level cameras. I guess would work on the EXX series cameras.
Most of the EXX and the T series.
And the T series.
Yeah. It's not on the E8, C5s, E4s. Not on the FLIR 1s.
Not on the C2s.
Not on
C-series.
C2s. No.
Okay.
No, but you can still use it in the software with those cameras, with those types of cameras, right? So, which we'll show in a second. So the same pull-down menu structure is accessible when you're editing the JPEGs in the software. But to do it in the camera like I'm doing now, you would have to have like an E60, E95, E75, that type of camera. It does apply to a pretty wide variety of camera models. So I have one image here that I saved. Now if I hit save again, go back in, and if we want to change to a different template, go up to here, and that's what this button is for, or icon. I can select that, and I can say, for this, I want to use my electrical inspection template. And it says, sure you want to do that? Yeah, I do. Go to location, equipment, oops, problem, whatever it is, recommendation. Okay.
Just had another question come in from John. Was wondering, as a follow-up to the text question, does the text string that was entered on the camera update the text comment file that's on the camera? No. Okay.
No. It's just a one-time exception case. Would be probably the best way to say it. If you find that you're typing out a lot, you might want to go back and edit the template and then send it back to the camera, and that'll update it. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we just stored two images, one using each table. So what I'm gonna do now is we'll take the card out. We'll go back to the library here. And give it a minute to detect the card.
And just to answer another question while that's detecting the card, this one came in from Rainey. This I don't believe would apply to the Caterpillar, the Cat 60 camera either. That's sort of in the same realm as I'd say the FLIR 1 or the.
I'm not even.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's designed by Cat. They just use our core. I'm not even sure if that stores radiometric JPEGs, to be honest with you.
That's a good question. We'd have to find out. Yeah. So perhaps we can find that off online, but offline later. But
yeah. Okay, so now I have the card back plugged into the reader. So now the next step would be to import the images. So I want to pull them into the library. So we go to import. Nothing special about this procedure. So it found the two images. We'll go to import. We'll put them into. I'll just put them into here, I guess. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So now if we look at these, the text shows up on the right-hand side in this table. So that's exactly what I picked. If we go to the next image, we can see this used the electrical template. Okay. So it's that easy, and you can change this. Again, these are just text boxes, so certainly easy enough. If you want to type something else in here, it just updates the field. We can save changes. You can add additional rows. You can delete rows. So, if something doesn't apply to this particular image, we can just delete that row and then save changes. Again, it's only affecting this image. It's not affecting the original template. Now, if you have an image that doesn't have any text, so let's see, I think we have one here. Nope. Okay. So here's an image that doesn't contain any text. Okay. This is from an E60, but it was just stored, it wasn't using a text template at the time. We can either add rows manually over here, which you can do with any camera, and you can also import from a template using this plus. And this gives you access to the same templates that we sent to the camera. So this is, the case where if you have an E8, let's say, and you can't use this feature in the camera, you can use it here and still have access to the pull-down menus. So it's the same exact thing I'm doing in the camera, just doing it on the software side instead. All right. Hit apply, and there you go. So the end result's the same. It's just a different approach. So if you have a mix of cameras, you may have some cameras that can do this, some that can't. You can all standardize on the same template and either use it in the camera or use it in the software or both. Gives you that level of versatility. And again, when you save these, the JPEG is updated with these text fields.
Let's add, sorry, just got a question about the text fields and the data being exported. Can you export any of this data to an Excel or a CSV file?
These are actually just text files, to be honest with you. So yeah, if I go, I can show you that real quick. Text comment files. If I right click on this and open with Notepad, let's see, more apps. All right, there you go. So very, very simple structure. So you can copy that into Excel or pull it right into Excel if you want, and just treat it as a text file. Okay. You would have to export it to be able to access it as a TCF. If you just work with it here in this framework, you won't be able to do that. But if you use the export function right here, this exports it as one of those text files. Okay. And this is where you would go if you want to edit. So if you're editing, one of these images, like we kind of talked about earlier. So, if you're looking at one of these JPEGs and you find that, you're typing something a lot in the camera, let's say, like in the keyboard, you could go back to your template and edit the template and just add that as a value. We just go plus and type in whatever you want, save it, and then send that modified template over to your camera. So I still have the card plugged in. So we send that, it says copy and replace. You can keep both, it'll just rename it. So if you copy and replace, it updates it with whatever changes you made. And then again, you're good to go in the camera again. So it will include, the next time you store an image, it'll include that new value. Okay. Another cool thing is that this text is searchable. So I have a lot of images here in my folders. If you wanted to find a certain set of images, say you're doing an electrical inspection and you're concerned about a certain electrical panel or something like that. We can type the ID right up here in the search box. And it'll go through your whole library and find anything that matches that field. So in this case, we just found 2 images. But you can see where the ID comes from. It's the equipment ID, right? Do something else. Let's go. Oops, sorry about that. I think I typed that wrong.
So a few questions have come in here in the last few minutes. We're going to be answering some of these here at the end. If you have very specific questions about an application, perhaps, something that might be outside of the scope of this particular presentation, let me just chat to you in the chat window, which is right below the Q&A panel. I'll chat my email. I'll just do matt.schwegler@infraredtraining.com. You can also get me at matt.schwegler@fleer.com. And I'll put Jason's in there as well, jason.gagnon@fleer.com. And that's in the chat window right now. We'll have that on a slide here at the end as well. But I just wanted to, if you guys have those questions, if it's more application specific, probably best to be addressed offline.
Yep. All right, what we have here is the result of a different search on a different equipment ID. Okay. So this is over a period of time. You can see on the thumbnails that it looks like one of these breakers is heating up over time. So this is an example of a situation where you might be doing routine inspections of a certain piece of equipment. And each time you store the picture, you put the equipment ID in there as a text comment. And now let's say 6 months later, you want to go back and review it because you think something might be happening. You select your library folder, you search on that ID, and this is what comes up. And so now we can select these. We can go to the report pull down, and I can create a new report with this data set. And all this is possible with FLIR tools. We haven't done anything that requires Tools Plus or any of the upgrades. This is just a regular FLIR tools report. And it shows the text, so your annotations over here, any measurements that might have been on the image are showing over here. And then as we go through the pages, it's still processing here. We can see a little more about what's happening. Okay. And so even though we're in the report, if you wanted to, there's no measurement on that area specifically. So I can double click on the image in the report. Say I want to know a little more about this. I can draw an area box there. Shows the temperatures over here. I can close that, and it goes back to the report, and it adds my box temperatures to the measurements table. Okay. And so it's another way that you can take advantage of these text labels. And this is an electrical example, obviously, but if you're doing home inspections, maybe you want to search on a certain street address. Maybe you did a while ago and you want to do a report of all the images at that particular address that you were at, or that particular client's name, however you want to track these. If you save it in the text, it's there and it's searchable. So this is an example of a home inspection. All right, so we use the text annotations. I put in just a street address. That's what I searched on. So just like with the the electrical inspections, I can pick those. I can create a report. And all that data moves over to the report page. So, it's useful in a lot of different ways. If you just use it as a way to annotate your JPEGs, it can save you some time just typing the reports. But you can also take it to another level here and use it as a search field. It's a relatively basic search, but the data is there, and the library records all that information in the data. There's like a database that underlies all this. So that gives you the ability to search through these fields. So that's why it's more advantageous than just having it in a text box. You can certainly type text into the report here, just using these text boxes. But it's just a text box, and it's not searchable like with the text annotations, and it's only on this page in this report.
We had a question come up about image tagging. Can you tag the images in any way? I guess in a sense, like you tag an image in Instagram or on Facebook with a person's name or a keyword or something like that.
Well, that's what we're doing.
And the text annotations will do that, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doing it, but it's putting in the radiometric image. That's the advantage of doing it through FLIR tools and through the camera, is that it's a special field that's in our data image, and that gives you the ability to search on it through FLIR tools and to see the data here in the software. So it's effectively tagging it with text.
Okay.
Yep. And the cameras, typically they will support if they support the annotations, they'll support the note feature, which is a simpler way to tag them. So the note field you can see here, which is just a sentence or a string, that you can type in. So if the label value structure isn't necessarily applicable, you can always use the note, and it's conceptually the same, and it embeds it into the JPEG, and so that'll show up on your reports too. So okay. And just to kind of close this out here with the reporting, if you have Tools Plus, you can create your own templates. That's what some of these are here. So with the free software, you'll have just these 2 rows. With the Plus version, you have the Word templates option. And you can create Word reports. I'll just use one of these sample templates here for now. And the data will transition over to Word too. So if it's in the JPEG, the radiometric JPEG, it'll be available to show in any of the reports. Hopefully that will give you a good idea of how you can maybe take advantage of this feature for your reporting.
Well, let me just, we've got some questions that came in. We will answer those questions. I want to get back to the people that had sent those in the last few minutes or so. Let me just first cover a couple of items for contact information. If you want to get a hold of Jason or myself, or you want to look at other webinars that we might have available, you can go to our website at infraredtraining.com/webinars. And we have all of the webinars saved as an on-demand session. They're all free. You can watch them as many times as you want. Like I said, we'll be posting yesterday's presentation up there pretty soon. And then this one will probably be up there after the first of the year. But if you want to email me and then get your early copy of that here today, I'll probably have it processed within the next hour or so. So that's available there. Of course, we're on social media, very active on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Please follow us. Give us a like, because we'll announce when future live tutorials are going to be held. Other important updates like the conference information 2018 coming up in Austin, Texas. We'll have updates on that. We've got a call for papers that's out there right now if you want to participate in that event. But to stay in touch with what's happening here at ITC, really social media is the best way to do that. And as promised, our email addresses for contact information, anything relating to FLIR tools or annotations or any of the other software-related questions, send it to this guy right here, because he's the one that knows this. And if you have general training and certification questions, you're certainly welcome to send those to my email address right here, and we'll get you the answers that you're looking for. And then just for basic information, our upcoming training schedule for US and Canadian classes, head to infraredtraining.com. If you're in Europe, the Middle East, or Africa, the EMEA website is irtraining.eu. And of course, the FLIR Support Center has a wealth of information, much of it free. You can search our FAQ database. We've got the spec sheets there, the software downloads.
If you're curious about your camera features, whether your camera supports text annotations, all the data sheets are there at the support site. They're very detailed. It'll tell you all about your camera, resolution, lens field of view, pretty much anything you'd need to know. So if you're curious about that, check that out. We also have a lot of FAQs, a lot of training materials linked on the Support Center website. I have a PDF, template design PDF. I have a FLIR Tools PDF. A lot of content on there for kind of self-learning type stuff. And we have the YouTube channel linked on the support site also. So if you just go on there and search for FLIR Tools training or anything like that, it'll come up with an article with all that linked to it. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, we had some questions that came in. We'll take a few moments maybe to grab these. And we just actually got notified, too, that the CAT 60, the images are radiometric and they will work in FLIR Tools.
Okay.
And so that's good. So I'm assuming then they've got access to all the markup, the spot meters, the different area marks, but also the text annotations from the software side of it.
If they're fully radiometric, if they meet that standard, then everything I was doing on the software side will be applicable. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's see. I'll just go down the list here. We had a few others, excuse me, that came in. Voiced annotations, I guess the question was. Voice annotations. Maybe just a quick overview on, obviously, it's audio versus a data file, but that's another option for recording data when you save an image.
Yeah.
How do those come back into the software, I guess? That's one thing people don't typically, how do you access it?
It's, if you want to switch.
Yeah, let me give Jason control there and he can demonstrate this.
It's real simple. I could just show you where it is. It's on the, it's in the same area as the measurements and the text. So if you have an image that has a voice annotation, you'll see this playback button over here. It'll say voice annotation, and there'll be a little play button, and you just play it back.
And it's assigned to the actual image you've just saved. There's no way to assign it to another image.
No, it's tagged. Yeah. It's tagged with the image. You can just think of it as sort of an audio file that's attached to the JPEG. So it's tagged just like the text. A lot of the cameras have this too. Through the camera menus, a lot of this you can see what you have available. Again, if you find your save options menu in your camera, and this tells you all the different things that you can add to the image. So on this one we have you can save and add the note, which is that text string. You have the table, which is what we did earlier. You have voice annotation, which is what you can play back in FLIR Tools. Sketch is just like drawing on the screen. Save and add any will pop up a menu where you can add everything if you really want to. So you have all those options available in this particular camera. So just look on your camera, look for something about save options and something about annotations, and you should be able to find it. And all that stuff gets tagged in that particular JPEG that you save, and then it's viewable in FLIR Tools. Yeah.
We have a couple new users that have joined us. Question about obtaining the software, FLIR Tools versus Tools Plus. Maybe just an overview of where they access it and cost for Tools Plus and what they get out of that.
FLIR Tools is
this is that support site. So support.FLIR.com will take you here.
So there's different ways to find it. What you could do is search on FLIR Tools, download as kind of a shortcut. That just searches through all the facts, and it will usually come up here somewhere with one of these related to downloading the software. So this just has some quick links, quick access links to find it. You can also, under the help and support menu, you can go to downloads, and this has software and manuals and a lot of stuff. If you go to software, you can find it there under category. Go to the analysis software, and then we can just drill down to find FLIR tools. It's actually pretty easy to find here.
And so brand new users obviously want to take 6.
Tools 6, yeah. 6. Now, the upgrade to Tools Plus adds the word reporting add-in. It adds a panorama option for combining JPEGs, and it adds sequence recording for certain cameras, USB and Ethernet cameras. So you can stream to the PC, you can record videos, play them back. So you basically get 3 extra features with Plus. The cost in US, it's $295 for a license.
For the upgrade. The basic is
for
free.
The upgrade. Yeah, yep. FLIR Tools is totally free. Everything we did today in this session, you can do with the free software. Right. The Plus is optional, and it's around $300 US. The license allows you to activate it on 2 PCs. So you'd want to check with your local retailer or distributor to see what the cost would be for you. But in the US anyway, we can order it online through the online store, the FLIR.com store.
Let's see, a couple other questions here. There's a few that are a little more technical that it might be best to address offline. And I think, Matthew, that was one of them about data collection and pulling it into a pricing document. There's sort of more advanced, sounds like database, perhaps, utility question that sort of
might be more applicable to the SDK if you're trying to do like data integration. But the fields are available because they're embedded in the JPEG. We have an SDK that can read that data into your own custom app if that's something you're interested in doing. It's called the Atlas SDK.
I wasn't sure what David was asking, but his question was, can you do a fuzzy search or use a wildcard characters in the text annotations?
You can. I believe you can. I might have to test that, to be honest with you, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, it will search on any part of, hang on one minute. So if we just type like that, it's sort of like a contains sort of. So if you type any portion of the string, it'll search and it will find it. So this is what I was searching on earlier. With the full string, but I just put a portion of the string in this time and it still found it. So it's a basic search. There's no way to do multi-levels or anything, unfortunately. I would like that ability, but we haven't built that in yet. So it's a very, very basic search, yeah.
Is there a limit to the size of a TCF file, or is it limited by the SD card only?
Oh, the TCF files are tiny. They're just little text files. I don't think you'll run into any size issues. The sort of difficult part might be if it's too long. I mean, you're going to be scrolling for a long time, in your camera. If it's a really long list, you might want to segment that. If you're doing a big power plant, you might want to section it into separate files, and then I think it might be easier that way.
Okay.
To deal with, yeah.
Any limits to the character numbers, the number of characters in the fields?
Don't know.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't
PJ,
know.
let's.
I might have to.
I'll send PJ your email.
Yeah.
And PJ, go ahead and just reply directly to Jason.
Yeah,
on that one.
I can look into that for you. I don't know off the top of my head.
Let's see. Differences, and probably a challenging question to address in this capacity, but how similar or not is this with the Mac OS version of FLIR tools in terms of annotations?
Mac OS version doesn't support this.
Does not support this. Okay.
It's a very, very basic viewer. If you want to do anything like this, you'd want to use the Windows version.
Okay. Let's see. Hector was wondering about utilizing the text annotation to help with trending.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like it
that's
depends on
kind
how
of
he
what
sets it up. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we did here with this list, the set of panel images. So I just, I used the same tag every time like we took these pictures. So this kind of simulates that type of application where if you go out once a month and you shoot this particular panel, if you use the same tag, same equipment ID, and when you save these, then you can search across your whole library, and that's what we did here. So this is sort of a slowly progressing problem, for instance, where you can see it just slowly heat up. So that's essentially kind of trending,
Okay.
and so you can put those into your report, and you can say it's like, well, this is gradually heating up. You might think about repairing it or shutting it down.
Yeah. So examples, Hector, would be anything. I mean, you could have electrical, mechanical. There's
Yeah,
there's various. Trending is something that you're doing where you don't have the opportunity to, let's say, immediately repair something, but you have a condition that's showing a fault, and you're looking at how that's progressing, if it's getting worse, how fast, and
yeah.
how much is it degrading in a certain amount of time. So that's why you would do that.
Yeah, it's just monitoring over time,
Yeah.
and the ability to search on these fields gives you a quick way to find all the images that are related to that particular item that you're concerned with and put them into a report. So within a matter of seconds, it returns this set of images that you can then send into a report instead of trying to dig through all your folders and find them manually. Yeah.
We had a question about the alarm feature. I guess we've got a few minutes here. While FLIR Tools is open, is that something? I guess with you took talking about
Oh,
isotherms there,
that's just
Sean.
those are just
Yeah,
isotherms. Yeah, yeah.
we'll take that.
So yeah, it's real. They've changed the name to alarms. If you've used the older cameras, we used to call them isotherms. Alarm is a little more of a, I guess, sort of easier description or better description of what it's doing because it's really alerting you of areas of the image that are above a certain limit. And that's kind of like your alarm limit. So in the cameras, these are probably more useful in the cameras. So if you're walking around and you have a threshold temperature that something shouldn't exceed, you can set your alarm in the camera to that temperature. And then as you're walking around, if anything is above it, it's really obvious to you, particularly with the gray palette. And then you can go take a closer look at it. And so that's really all it is. It's just a color alarm. And in the software here, you can set it just by dragging it. You can type the limit in over here, just say 80 degrees, for instance, and you can change the colors. All right, so we have an above, below, interval, which is kind of like right in the middle, and then some more complicated ones for humidity and insulation. Um, so, and a lot of the cameras have these too, and it's the same concept in the camera.
Okay, we'll just take one more here just to wrap it up. Michael, this will be a good one to finish on. Report Studio, I think there's still a little bit of confusion out there, and I get these questions in classes too. It's not a standalone. Is it a standalone? It's
No,
not. It's an
no.
add-in that works with Tools Plus.
It's the new word add-in for
Okay.
Tools Plus. It's bundled with Tools Plus. The Report Studio part of it is this wizard that we have now. So this is new. So the word part is the same concept that we had for years with Tools Plus and with Reporter. It's a word add-in, just like this. This is Report Studio, actually. This is the tab that you have. And you can build up your own Word templates and you can make Word reports from Tools Plus. That's all the same. It's just an updated version of the add-in. The Report Studio side of it is this new wizard that we have that you can use to create reports. So you have an additional option. You don't have to even open Tools if you don't want to. If you want to use the wizard, um, as long as you have a template, yeah, we don't need that. So we can close out of Tools completely. As long as you have a template, you can walk through the steps there's a lot of cool things about this wizard too, because we can go to next. It's just a pretty straightforward step-by-step process. It shows you all your folders on your PC. So we can go to whatever folder, drag these over here. You can edit the images in the wizard, and then you can make the word report. So if I double click, it's going to bring up an image editor right in the wizard that looks just like FLIR Tools. So you can do your image editing right from the wizard. You can save your changes, and then you can build the word report. So you can use the Report Studio wizard exclusively. You can use it in conjunction with FLIR Tools. So it gives you a little more versatility, because when we went to Tools Plus, the only way to make the word report is to go to the library and start in the library. So we've added the wizard to give you a little more versatility with how you make the reports. People have different kind of methods that they prefer. So it's a little gives you an extra option.
All right.
So, but Report Studio is part of Tools Plus. It's the same kind of idea. It's all bundled together. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Great. I think we'll wrap it up at that.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. That's a wrap. We had a few other questions that came in, and I sent out our email, so you're more than welcome to drop us a line there. We'll try to get back to you as well with those questions, especially Matt with the reporting templates and the various sites that you're working with. So I will definitely follow up with you once I get that question. We got this recorded, so we'll have it available for playback at a later time, probably right after the first of the year. So look for that posted online. And if you want to get an early copy here today, I'll probably have this ready to go in the next hour or so. And as I mentioned, our email, it's in the chat window. You can drop us a line there. Don't forget our website, infraredtraining.com. And of course, infraredtraining.com/webinars, where we've got all of these listed on demand for free for viewing at any time. Well, that'll wrap it up, and that's actually a wrap on 2017. So we'll be back here in the first quarter of 2018 with new topics, live tutorials. If you have possibly a suggestion on a topic that you'd like to hear us cover, certainly feel free to suggest that as well. But appreciate your time. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Have a great holiday, everyone, and Happy New Year. And we'll see you back here in 2018 with new live tutorials from the Infrared Training Center. Take care.